Hey, it's Gary from fitnessfirstnutrition.com. I'm back with another video. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Today, in this video, we'll be talking about Trump having the U.S. government out here investing in Intel. Do I agree? Do you agree? Does it make sense? Let's figure it out.
Today called the government's recent 10% stake in semiconductor chip maker Intel a good deal. The administration converted nearly $9 billion in federal grants to the company into Intel stock. The president said he is looking at similar deals with more companies. And to help us understand what's going on, we turn to senior business and technology correspondent Jolene Kent. So, Jolene, what did the president say? Why did he say he wanted to make this deal?
John, the president said today, basically, I want them to do well. And he added, I want to try and get as much as I can, which raised a lot of questions. But the bigger goal here, according to his economic advisor, Kevin Hassett, is that the White House is in process of creating a sovereign wealth fund established by executive order back in February. Now, doing this is typically more common, of course, in countries like China and the Middle East, even Norway, where they've got access to major natural resources. But similar actions have happened before. You'll remember during the financial crisis, the U.S. government took stakes in Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and they stepped in to bail out Chrysler and General Motors from collapse. But it's important to note here, this is potentially the first of many deals, and it's a $9 billion stake. It's the remainder of the CHIPS Act money under President Biden. And the Biden administration originally said Intel had to meet certain goals to get this taxpayer money. But now President Trump has removed those goals to buy this stake in Intel, driving up the stock, John.
And Jolene, what are the arguments against doing this when it's not an emergency?
Well, true free market advocates and traditional conservatives say it's not good to mix church and state, if you will, to have, a large corporation like Intel tied up with the U.S. government. Their argument is that this misuses taxpayer money. It essentially ties it to the fame or fortune or the fall of a major company, and that is irresponsible. But President Trump says he sees an opportunity, and he says he's trying to help these companies maintain a global advantage. But certainly a lot of free market advocates out there saying this is a red flag.
All right. So the government is out here buying a 10% stake in Intel for $8.9 billion. So what's really going on? Is this a power move for national security, or is it the government out here playing favorites and messing with the free market? Is it a combination of both? We heard a sovereign wealth fund being mentioned. So, I'm about to break it down for you. So grab a protein shake that you can get at fitnessfirstnutrition.com or a coffee, and we're going to just sit back and kick it, and we're going to break this down. So President Trump announced that the U.S. government is going to be grabbing 10% of Intel. So Intel's been around for quite some time. It used to be a star in the tech world, but now it's kind of been surpassed by AMD and definitely NVIDIA. So they've kind of fallen by the wayside. Still a fairly decent company. If you invest in them, you won't lose too much money. You won't make too much money. They just kind of keep going, So $8.9 billion is what we're talking about, which obviously is not pocket change. It's a 10% stake in the company, which does make the U.S. government now the biggest stakeholder in the company. So this is serious money we're talking about, serious ownership we're talking about. So the deal was funded from $5.7 billion from the CHIPS Act, and then $3.2 billion from the Department of Defense program for secure chips. So Intel's CEO, he met with Trump and they agreed on it. And now the government is the biggest shareholder, which is a little communistic, socialistic, communistic. But so now Intel's been kind of struggling for a little while, but again, they're not terrible. Like, they weren't going out of business. Even if they were, there's no excuse. But they're obviously, so as I mentioned before, they were losing market share to NVIDIA, AMD, in the chip game. So their stock was down about 60% from the pandemic highs, but the pandemic highs were fake highs for a lot of companies. So you have to keep that in mind. Now let's get to this. So they posted a $18.8 billion loss in 2024. So, so the government coming in like they came in with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, Chrysler and all that, didn't agree with any of those either. If a company's going to fail, then you have to let it fail. I mean, there's no such thing as too big to fail. They created this term. Don't like it. Don't like it at all. At least in the instance of those things, we had a financial collapse that you can kind of say, oh, we have to keep the structure of the country going intact. But with this, there's nothing. We have companies hitting all-time highs. I think NVIDIA's worth $2-3 trillion. Like, there's nothing wrong here. So this deal to me smells more like it's more than just saving jobs, which they're going to use that as an excuse. It's about control. To me, control from the U.S. government, as he said that he wants to take certain companies and make sure that they are global powerhouses. which is showing favoritism. And like the free market advocates say, that's not free market. Free market does not let the government choose the winners and losers. The market chooses winners and losers. That's why it's free. So if you don't know, I am completely about free market. You build your business, you take your risks, you eat or you starve. It's pretty simple. That's what America was based on. And that's just the culture of the way we do things in America. But when the government steps in and says, yo, Intel, you're our guy. Here's $8.9 billion and you're going to give us 10% of the company. That's not free market. So when she named the other places where this is done, those places were Middle East, China, not free market places. They don't have the same economy as us. They don't have the same mentality as us. They don't have the same politics as us. So, but we're sharing this in common and we should not be. So this has the potential to be favoritism on steroids. Like, why Intel? Why not AMD? Why not NVIDIA? Well, NVIDIA wouldn't go for this because NVIDIA is already top dog, and you wouldn't want to throw them off because that would really hurt America. We could have picked some startup to innovate, but the White House says it's about national security. The chips are critical to AI and the future of AI. We can't rely on China and Taiwan, which is great. That's understandable. I get it. So this deal gives Intel a leg up over the competitors. So now this kind of throws them back into the game. They'll get more favorable deals, more favorable treatment, more favorable policies that can help them because the government has interest in the company to make sure that it succeeds so that the government doesn't lose money and that it makes money and it can put money into this sovereign fund. So Intel has, like I said, it's been chugging along, but it is bleeding, struggling to get new customers, and their new factories and their foundry business it's kind of been a money pit. Like I said, they posted an $18.8 billion loss last year in 2024. So now with the U.S. government being the largest shareholder, that's more than likely about to change. So, and they're looking to do this with more companies, which is kind of, I really don't know what this is turning into. We have National Guards in the streets. We have the government owning a large institution, a big company. And looking to get more of them, looking to be involved in crypto. I really don't know what this is turning into, but I'm not really a fan of it. So this kind of hurts competition. Analysts are saying that this could tilt the playing field. I mean, it doesn't really take a rocket scientist to see that this can tilt the playing field. So Intel stock is up. I did purchase a little bit of Intel when I heard the news. My Intel's up. The only reason I bought the company is because the government's in there, and the government, come hell or high water, they will not let that stock crash. Come hell or high water. So Trump was on Truth. Excuse me. So Trump was on Truth Social, and he was calling for Intel CEO to resign over some alleged ties to Chinese companies. He always finds a reason for something to insert himself. So next thing you know, at the CEO's at the White House and they're shaking hand, and this deal magically appears. So this seems more like a shakedown. Probably wasn't a negotiation. I don't know who would negotiate saying I'm going to give you 10% of my company. And if they own 10%, I'm not going to do the math. I don't even know if they paid market share for it. But the big picture here is, what does this mean for free market? The U.S. has always been about letting businesses like pretty much go at it, innovate. They have antitrust laws. They have laws against monopolies. So it's more about competition. But when the government steps in and they get a stake in the company, it's a partner. It's a shareholder. It's now an 800-pound gorilla just sitting in the room. Hard to ignore it, but it's kind of a big deal. So Intel deal comes with passive ownership, meaning that no board seats or voting rights are given. The government has a 5-year warrant to buy 5% of Intel if they lose control of the foundry business, which is that's leverage. So they're not just investing; they're holding a stick over Intel's head. So again, this is not a one-off. So Trump's team has already said again that they're looking to do this with more companies. Now, the Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, said that they're not meddling, but obviously you are meddling. You can say one thing, but your actions are what we need to pay attention to. So this is starting to look like state-managed capitalism, federal policing going on, looking a little Chinese, Russian-y. It's not looking real US-y. It's not really looking real US-y to me. So even some Republicans are side-eyeing it. You know, Thomas Tillis, he called it a step towards semi-state-owned enterprises. I know Thomas Massey's not feeling this. I know he's not. I need to go on X and see what Thomas Massey had to say about this. I know that there is no way that he is happy about what's going on. And let's get to this. So the taxpayers, that's $8.9 billion of our money. We are $37 trillion in debt, and they took 8.9%. I mean, 8.9. They took $8.9 billion of our money, and they're betting on a company that's been losing for years. Again, they won't be going out of business, but there is a chance of losing out on the investment. That 8.9 can turn into 4.2. The odds of it turning into 12, the stake being worth 12 billion or 20 billion, not very likely, although more likely if the government starts to play a little shady business. Like what was that referee? Tim Donahue, the NBA referee that was fixing games because he was betting on them. So there'll more likely be some upside to it. I don't know. Maybe you want to look into investing in Intel. That's up to you if you want to. I've already purchased my shares personally, and I'm just going to let it sit out, ride out, and by the time Trump leaves, I'll probably sell it. So what's the end game here? If the government keeps doing these deals, we're looking at a future where the White House decide who wins and who loses in the market. Blatantly. I feel like they kind of do that a little bit already, but this is just blatant in your face. We don't do competition around here no more. We pick the winners. We pick the losers. Startups won't be able to compete, you know, and I mean, again, that's favoritism. That's just plain and simple. And there is no place for favoritism in the free market. So obviously we need chips. We need them to be made in America, but you can't really use the ends to justify the means. So do y'all think this is a smart deal? Does this help secure America's tech future, or is the government overreaching, or is it both? You know, both of those things could be true. Are they killing the free market? You know, drop your thoughts in the comment section below, and let's have a conversation about it. So again, I'm Gary from fitnessfirstnutrition.com. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.